What's going on, everybody? So by the title of the video, you probably wanted to go ahead and find out more about creating a massive open world island with oceans surrounding. And you definitely found the right place. So this is just part one. I'm going to walk you through getting all of this set up step by step. So yeah, we'll just pop in just to give you a sense of scale here. As I drop into the map. Whoa. You can now see how massive this is, and this is just the start. So yeah, stay tuned and I'll show you how we did it. So we're gonna go ahead and load up Unreal Engine, and you can use any basic template. It's going to work universally. So if you want to do this for an open world survival first person shooter, awesome, it will work. Third person templates work, but personally, what I'm using is the advanced locomotion system, and there's a few reasons why I personally like this one. So if you're wanted to follow exactly to the T, just go ahead and look up advanced locomotion, and you'll find this. Now it is part of the permanently free collection, so you could just go ahead and download that, create a project, and then just go ahead and load that up, and you'll use that as the foundation. Now, for the people that are probably wondering why I've chosen to go ahead and use this project specifically, I'll show you. If you're not familiar with the advanced locomotion system, it's pretty amazing. So you've got all of these things built straight into the character, right? You got running, it's very crisp, clean animations. There's also the ability to jump and kind of climb things. There's also some blueprints and whatnot to like do slow motion effects. And I'll show you some other cool things about it. So you've got let's see you can see on the right hand side there's this menu prompts, whatnot. You can kind of play around with it, and it's also provisioned for Xbox controllers, so it's pretty cool. Before we go ahead and really go into the level editing, a couple shout outs that we're going to go ahead and make sure that I throw out there is Smart Poly had a video tutorial, and this is kind of where I learned a lot of this that I'm about to show you. Now there's a few things that I'm doing a bit differently just for the whole style, because he does end up going in and extracting a material from another project that looked a bit too cartoony. So we're going to be using mega scans and building our own material. So let's go ahead and get into the level design. But before we do, one thing you're going to want to make sure that you go ahead and do is go into your project settings and go ahead and go into, or scroll down rather, to the game mode. So you're going to want to make sure that your default game mode is set to ALS underscore game mode, because this is going to make sure that any map that you go into is automatically going to bring in the whole advanced locomotion system if you're going to go that route. But again, if you wanted to go ahead and just use the standard third person template for the control scheme on that, that's totally cool as well. But go ahead and just make sure you select that. All right, so now let's go ahead and make our new open world. So this is what you come for. So let's go ahead and go into landscape. And we are, we're going to actually go new level, basic, create, and before we really get started, always make sure to save the level, because sometimes you'll make some edits and it'll cause Unreal 5 to crash, and you don't want to lose, all that work. So just go ahead and go into your content folder, and just to keep things organized, I like to create my own folders directly in that content folder. So we're going to call this maps. All right, so we can just go ahead and open that up, and we'll go ahead and give this one a name. I'm just going to call this the Isle. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, so after you've named it, go ahead and have a quick look around. But this we can go ahead and get rid of, because we can't really make what we want to make with this. So get it out of here. All right, cool. So now we are left with this open plane. All right, so what we're going to do now is go into landscape. And if you go ahead and zoom out, now you can kind of see you've got this green grid. Now this is going to replicate the land mass that you're going to be generating. So go ahead and just set yours to whatever you think will be the right size. Now there is a measuring guide out there. I might find that and also link it in the information below. I just got to figure out how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and make mine, we'll say 750 by 750. Nice and square. And we'll keep the Z coordinates at the 100 default there. Now just make sure you also enable edit layers before you click create. And once you've gone ahead and done that, click create. And you can even go ahead and drop your character on into the map, just to kind of get a feel of how vast this whole map is. So cool. We got an idea of what we're working with. So let's go ahead and get out of there. And let's go ahead and start making this island. Okay, so the way we're going to go about this is, rather than sculpting it, we're going to go ahead and go into the blueprints. And in the tool settings, you're going to have blueprint brush. So if you go ahead and click the drop down there, you're going to want to make sure to click the custom land mass brush. Yep. So once you've selected that, go ahead, and I like to try and find the middlemost point of the map and build from that. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Mine's pretty big, so all right. Cool. So we can go ahead and just click anywhere in that map, and we can go ahead and go take a look at it and see what it did, right? So after you've clicked, it's going to go ahead and pop this triangle looking thing out of the ground. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and kind of move stuff around here. So just go ahead and drag and drop. Just click the little dots, and you could drag it out, and you can kind of see it's like making this, you know, strange triangle looking thing. That's cool. That's exactly what we needed to do. So you don't need to worry too much about, you know, how perfect it looks. It doesn't need to look exactly like what you're trying to get. Just be careful not to get the edges too close, because once we start manipulating the landmass, it can cause some weird shadows, so just be mindful of that. So we got that. Cool. Now you can get some additional points or like dragging options by holding down Alt and just dragging away from the actual point there. So you can see I got this extra point. Cool. And I can just drag out another one. Great. I'll pull that out. And I might as well get another couple over here just to kind of get it closer. So let's get another one. So hold Alt, drag that out. And let's go ahead and drag that guy out there. And we're going to go ahead and drag this out as well. Okay, so there we go. We've got ourselves a weird shape. We'll pull that in just a little bit. So practically this whole area is going to be used. We can even drag this in, make it romantic, make a little heart. I'm just kidding. But we'll drag that in a little bit. Okay. So again, you don't have to copy this. This is just going to be, you know, what I'm going to kind of play around with at first. And we're going to kind of see the magic happen here. So what we're going to do now is in your details panel, if you go ahead and just scroll down, we're going to look for this cap shape. Go ahead and just click the check box there. And it's going to go ahead and kind of shrink it back into the map. Now yours probably won't go that far, and that's okay. So if it does happen to go below the mesh, let's just play and have a quick look. You can kind of see there's a bit of a lump on mine. And there it is. So it looks like mine is a little bit lower, and we definitely want to raise it up. So let's do that. Now, if yours did go below, that's totally fine. It's an easy fix. All I got to do is change the Z offset. Now, if yours is slightly above, that's also great. That's where you want to be. So let's go ahead and crank this up. We'll say 300. And let's go ahead and get close. Nah, still too low. So let's go ahead and bump it up 500. Still a bit too low. Let's go 800. Closer. 1,000. 1,500. Okay, let's just say 5,000. Okay, so that's a bit better. And if we go ahead and drop our character in, you can see we got a pretty massive land. I'm going to just try to get closer to the edge just to kind of see how much of a fall off there is. So pretty steep actually, so might want to dial this down personally, at least for me. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe drop this to 4,500. No, we're going to go ahead and do 3,500. Maybe the 1,500. Let's have a look at that again. Okay, that looks a bit better. Okay, so we can go ahead and exit out of that. And so now we've kind of got a nice little fall off point. Now, if and after we make some modifications, you can always change that Z value. It's a real easy modification. But now we're going to go ahead and give it some unique shaping. So let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, so what we're going to do next is give it a unique shape. Okay, so being that mine's pretty massive, it's going to be kind of hard to see. So what I might do just for visual purposes, I'll set this back to 1,500 in a minute. But I'm going to just crank this up. We're going to say, like, let's just go ahead and get a nice visual representation here. So I'll just crank it up so you can kind of see what each little thing is going to be doing to the actual map. So don't do what I just did there. Again, that's just for, you know, visual purposes. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down to curl noise. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play around with some of these to kind of see this land evolve. So let's first go ahead and go to curl strength, and we'll play around with this. You can kind of just drag it slowly and start to see the island morph. All right, so you can go to the far extreme and it's just like, what the hell is that? Is that brains? Looks like some hamburger meat or something. Okay, so this is looking a little more natural, but still not quite what we're looking for. So now if we go ahead and kind of modify this next setting, again, it's going to kind of break things up a little bit. So, you know, if you're trying to get like inlets and things like that to kind of break up the island a bit, that's perfect. Now, this is what you want to be mindful of. Okay, so you see how this one's kind of now reached out to the edge. Try to avoid that. So we're going to go ahead and dial this one back a little bit to just avoid that. Maybe, there we go. And then maybe bring that one up a bit. Okay. All right, so I mean, we could always tweak those settings a bit later. That's not a problem. And we can go ahead and play around with the tiling as well. So this is going to go ahead and kind of just shift things around a little bit. So if you like the shape, but you kind of want some different, you know, feel to it, just kind of play around with that. And then you've also got this one that will do the same, but kind of towards, it looks more like it's towards the edge. All right, so great. Now let's go ahead and play with some more of these settings. So before I go ahead and go into displacement, I'm actually going to change my offset back just to save myself having to go back and retweak this stuff later. And yeah, so that's good. So got a little bit of a definition there. Now we're going to go ahead and go into the displacement. So displacement, if you kind of slowly dial it up, you're going to start to see some changes on your map. So just go ahead and keep dialing it up, but slowly. You can kind of see it's made it a little more organic in a sense. Like you've got a little bit of some hills kind of now forming. It's kind of deforming a bit. You can really make it crazy, mountainy, and weird. Just be sure that when you do change those settings, you kind of want to look at your border, because we're going to want to make sure that it's still higher than this ground level, because we're going to be putting water around this. So if, like, let's say we did want this to be kind of the look and feel, you would want to then reset your Z offset. So like maybe dial that up for myself. All right. Now, being that I've got a pretty large map, I would want to make sure that, yeah, so, I mean, this isn't too crazy, and I'm not going to really worry too much about this bit, because you can fix all that stuff later, but a bit better. Now, kind of got like a nice hilly landscape. So that's good. Now let's go ahead and play around with some of the fall off width. Now I can't recall what this actually did. I think let's set it to 0 and then just see. Okay, so it doesn't really make a lot of changes there. That's cool. So let's see. Z offset. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't realize that. So I guess you can modify the Z offset there as well. So that's good to know. We'll just go ahead and throw my character back down and just get a feel of the land. Yeah, massive. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom back out. And we can go ahead and just kind of appreciate the map. All right, so looking pretty good. Now, another thing that we can go ahead and do, now that we've played around with that, is the plateau. Actually, let's see. Yeah, you can play around with the displacement tiling to kind of get like different hills in different areas, but like that's easier to manage when it's a smaller map. And then you've got your midpoint, which will rise and sink the map. Actually, I like that. Nah, I'll leave it where it's at. And then we can leave that where it's at as well. Now, if we go to terracing, this is another thing to kind of give your map a nice, actual, natural, organic look. So let's go ahead and just pop in. All right, so we've got some hills, got some natural valleys going on, but it is still a bit sharp. So we might smooth that out a bit, and that's fine. But let's go ahead and go into the terracing. So you can kind of play around with this as well, and this is going to also give your map a nice organic look as well. If you kind of just tweak it a bit, you can also get the spacing. I like to, whenever I'm playing with values, let's go ahead and get that up. I like to start low. Like, okay, so if we increase that by 5, what does that do? It's quite a bit. So then you can always just go 0.05, and you can get a little bit of a more subtle change. But just be sure to look around all of your surroundings, because it's going to have an impact to everything. Now we can go ahead and increase the smoothness as well, and just have a look and see what it's done. Okay, so it's smoothed things out a little bit. That's good. And oh, that looks actually pretty cool. Gives things kind of like a rocky faced edge. Might actually come in handy with what I'm thinking about building, so might leave that. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, I like that. Might dial it down a little bit, but I'll play around with the values. Okay. Now there are other things you can play around with. Now I don't think that, oh yeah, it actually does. Okay. So just go ahead and, like I said, dial it up slowly over a bit. And if you don't like what it's done, just kind of revert it by hitting that little revert button. But for the time being, I think this is pretty good. All right, so we'll drop the water in. We'll see how much of an impact it's made. But like I said, just kind of play around with some of the settings there. And also be sure to zoom out. I should have done that myself to just see how much of an impact it's made. I like the terracing over the displacement because it just seems a little more natural. But we might still want a little bit of that. Let's say 0.5. One. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so just play around with those settings and just get something that you like. I'm probably going to do some modifications to this, but for time purposes, because I've gone on for 10 minutes playing around with that, we will go ahead and drop the water in and play around with that. So before we do that, make sure to save your map. So Control S to save. And let's go ahead and start playing around with water. All right, so this next bit is a little bit tricky. It's more or less glitchy. So if it doesn't work, it's probably not that you've done it incorrectly. Just reset it and try it again. So what we're gonna do now is, to break up this checkered board. You don't have to do this, but it's just gonna be better on the eyes. Just go in and look for a material instance. So for instance, I got this one. It's called m_landscape. I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my game just for visual representation here. So you can just drag that into landscape material. We're going to be making a special made one probably on the next video, but let's go ahead and click that. And now you can see it looks green. Cool. So a bit too green. So let's go ahead and break it up with a little bit of ocean water, shall we? So the way we do that is we go ahead and go into the little add option. We're going to go to all classes, and we're going to go ahead and scroll down to water, ocean, water body, ocean. So if you just go ahead and drag that into your map like that, it's going to go ahead and just flood the world. It's getting super moist. So what we want to do now is we're going to go ahead and just grab these points here, drag them in close to one another, like that, and like that. And we'll go ahead and bring that guy in like that, and like that. And you're also going to just want to go ahead and drag it down a bit. Oops, sorry about that. Drag this down a little bit. Okay, so you've got kind of this lump. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the landscape water brush manager, and let's get our land back. So if we scroll down to the settings here, there's going to be an option for height map, and it's affected currently. So let's go ahead and uncheck that, and presto, would you look at that? We've got ourselves an island. So you can go ahead and take a quick look and, appreciate that. And then you've got just kind of zoom around and make sure you don't have that weird, that weird shadow cast, because it's extended beyond the map. And there we go. So it looks like somebody took a fat shit right there. So here we go. We've got ourselves a landmass. We've got ourselves an actual living ocean without the living things inside. And we can just go ahead and let's plop our character in there and just appreciate what we've done. So you can really take in the scale. It's huge. Oh. Now, one thing though, if you go in the water, there's no swimming built in. You'll have to do that, and I'm sure we'll set up a tutorial for that. Or you can even just set up a kill zone. But yeah, so there we go. We got the water. So as I said, we've gone ahead and now finished up the island. What we're going to do on the next video is even cooler. We're going to actually go ahead and create a special material instance that's going to go ahead and utilize mega scans, and it's going to go ahead and self-identify whether it's the top of a mountain, the side of the island, should it be grass, etc. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will get this next video out right now for you, so you've got another one to watch back to back. Thank you all for sticking around and watching that whole video through and through. I know it was a long one, and I promise I am going to work at keeping them shorter for you folks. If you found anything of use today, definitely let me know down below. Hit that like, sub, bell notification, however it works. And also, come check me out on Twitch. I do stream there, play a lot of open world survival games, and I would love to actually chat with you in real time. So thanks. I'll get the next video up as soon as possible. Cheers.